Hello, it's Sam from Mindfull Mycology, here with a video on how to take care of your grow kit, whether it's a lion's mane or an oyster. So the first thing you do when you get your grow kit and take it home is you're going to want to open it up so it has oxygen and so it can fruit. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a small slit. For lion's mane, I make a slit about 2 to 3 inches and I make it diagonally. And for oysters, I make an X, which would be about 1.5 inches for each cut. So we have a box cutter here. We're just going to want to spray it down with some isopropyl alcohol, 70%. You can use diluted bleach water, or you can not even use it at all. I use this as an extra precaution just to make sure things are definitely not going to become contaminated. So I recommend it, but it is not completely necessary. So we've got that sprayed down and sanitized. We're also going to spray down a paper towel, and then we're going to pick one of the sides on the grow kit, the widest side, and we're going to wipe it down. That sanitizes it as well, and then we'll make our cut. This is a lion's mane bag, so I'm going to make the diagonal cut. And make sure you have a sharp blade, and you're just trying to score the bag. Make a little cut. You don't want to cut into the actual block, the substrate, the sawdust, the mycelium. That will injure it and delay your growth. So that's a good size cut, and that is how you make your slit, where your mushrooms will fruit out of. The next thing we're going to do is, now that we have a hole in the bag, we can just push all the air out. We do this so that the bag becomes very tight against the substrate block. And we do that because if there are air pockets other than right where your slit is, then the mushrooms may try to fruit from other places. So by doing this, it's extremely tight against the substrate, and your mushrooms are only going to fruit out of here. They won't start fruiting out of the corners or the sides. So we push the air out, the bag's tight to the block. I've got a piece of tape. I just tape the top like so to the bottom. That keeps it nice and tight. Here's the cut, and you're good to go. Now the only other thing you need to do now is prepare your fruiting container. I recommend a clear plastic moving container. This is made by Sterilite, and I line mine with vermiculite. It's just a mineral, organic mineral that is mined and is very good at moisture retention. So I've already lined the bottom of my tote and hydrated the vermiculite so it has plenty of water in there to keep the humidity up. But that is, again, like all these other steps, that is a bit optional. You don't need to do that. You could just use a clear tote. I also have holes in this tote that helps for airflow and oxygenation of your fruiting container, but again, that is completely optional as well. I do this a lot, so I made mine very optimized, but you can just use a tote with no holes, without vermiculite, and you'll be fine. So we just take our block, lion's mane or oyster, and then you have an option. You can place it so that the cut is facing the wall, and I recommend that for oysters. But with lion's mane, I like to just have the cut face upwards, and your lion's mane will just grow upwards like this. And then the last step is increase the humidity in your fruiting container. So you just spray the side walls with a spray bottle. This is a pump spray bottle, but you don't need it to be a pump one. You can just use a regular one. A few things you want to avoid is don't spray the cut directly. Don't ever spray the mushroom directly. They don't like to be wet. They just like to be humid. And then the final step is grab the top of your tote, spray that as well, and then place it on your tote. And we don't want to lock it in or keep it tight. We want to have it ajar so that fresh air can come in and come out. Mushrooms like oxygen and they like to breathe. So you keep some oxygen by keeping it ajar. And then I recommend that you mist the sidewalls and the top 2 times a day. 3's best. So breakfast, lunch, dinner. But if you go to work in the day, then you just, when you wake up, do a mist. When you get home from work or before you go to bed, do another mist. And in 2 weeks, you will have fresh mushrooms ready to harvest. And with oysters, it may be as short as 7 to 10 days, depending on the species. That's pretty much it. The only other consideration I'd say is once you harvest, you can then take another piece of tape over this hole, flip the bag, do the exact same process of cutting your slit, and then obviously taking this top of the bag and flipping it to the other side, and you will fruit your mushrooms again from the kit just from the opposite side and cut from the opposite end. And that's pretty much it. It would be the same amount of harvest time, same aftercare, and once your block has produced enough mushrooms where you're happy with it, you can just take it, empty it out, put it in your compost, put it in your gardens, and you might even get bonus mushrooms. So thanks for joining us. We hope this helped. If you have any questions, feel free to email us at mindfullmycology@gmail.com. We'll be happy to see you go on your way growing mushrooms. Good luck. Happy growing.